The signal and the demand in the wide silence of deep space, a cargo ship named Atlas moved through the darkness carrying supplies and research materials from Earth to a colony near the edge of known space. The journey was supposed to be peaceful. Just another routine mission with nothing dangerous expected. But halfway through the journey, all contact with the Atlas suddenly stopped. The crew had not sent a distress signal. The ship's systems had vanished from all tracking maps as if something had swallowed it without leaving a trace back on Earth. The unified command grew silent as officers stared at empty screens trying to reconnect with the ship for hours. They tried different channels for hours. They called the crew's names hoping someone would answer, but there was only cold silence across every line. The people who once spoke and laughed from the Atlas were now missing, as if the ship had disappeared into a void. 12 hours later, a strange signal reached Earth. It was not a voice message, it was a live video. A group of tall, thin creatures stood behind a glass wall looking down at the captured humans, who were locked in a steel chamber with little light. Their faces were tired, their uniforms torn, their hope fading. The aliens did not speak in any known language, but a machine translated for them. Cold and without emotion, the voice spoke. "We have your crew," the voice said. "You will give us your energy technology, or we will begin taking your people apart for study. Your choice is simple: give us what we ask or lose your crew one by one." The message ended without waiting for a reply. Earth was left in shock. The video replayed across every screen, every news station, every military base. The fear was clear. This was the first open threat from an alien species, and the stakes were high. The aliens had shown power. They had captured a ship without warning. They had found humans and taken them alive. The emergency council gathered quickly. The president of the unified command sat in a high-backed chair, surrounded by top generals, scientists, diplomats, and space fleet commanders. Everyone spoke at once, but no one had answers. The silence between them grew heavier with each passing second. A senior officer named Commander Ray stood quietly near the edge of the table, his arms crossed, his eyes focused, while others argued about negotiation or delay. He stayed silent until the president asked him to speak, and then he looked around the room with calm strength and said, "We do not give in to threats. We never have, and we never will." People stared at him, some confused, some doubtful. "The aliens have technology beyond ours," someone whispered. "We are not ready for war with them." But Ray shook his head and said, "We are not talking about war. We are talking about principle. If we give them what they want, they will come again. Next time they will take more. Next time they will demand more, and our answer will matter even less." The president nodded slowly. Still unsure, the weight of 100 lives rested on the choice ahead. Outside the walls of the council chamber, people across Earth were watching the news. Some cried, some raged, some stayed quiet. But everyone was thinking the same thing. What would happen now? Would Earth give up, or would it stand firm? In a dark room inside the military base, a young engineer named David watched the video of the captured crew over and over, his hands shaking slightly. Each time the alien voice played, he did not know the crew personally, but he knew they were like him, explorers, builders, humans, trying to push the limits of space for peace and for progress. And now they were hostages to fear. David stood and walked to the strategy room where a group of specialists were already gathering people from different branches, secretive, fast-moving. They were forming a plan, not one of surrender, not one of negotiation, but one of action. They knew they had little time, and they could not trust the aliens to wait. Their plan had to be quiet, fast, and final. As the specialists laid out maps and communication lines, a woman named Mira, who led covert missions into hostile zones, said, "We are not here to send a message. We are here to bring them home, and we will do it without giving the enemy a single thing they want." Her voice carried strength, without anger, steady like steel. President was still meeting with the council as reports began coming in of public reaction around the world. The people were split. Some demanded negotiation, but many others stood behind Commander Ray's words. Humans had come too far, had lost too much in the past to start bowing now. History was full of sacrifice, but it was also full of resistance from the smallest Rebellion to the greatest wars humans had always pushed back outside the orbit of Jupiter. A defense satellite turned toward a distant signal and began recording a new feed. The alien ship was moving through an asteroid cloud, hiding among rocks. To avoid detection, it was a large craft, smooth and dark, with long antennas reaching like claws toward the stars. The stolen human ship was attached to its lower side, held tight like a prize. Back on Earth, the decision was finally made. The president stood before the cameras and read a short message, clear and final. We do not pay ransoms to enemies. We do not reward threats. We will protect our people, and we will not surrender our future to fear. The broadcast ended, and the covert team was given full clearance. The rescue mission was now active. The world would not hear about it until it was over, but it had already begun. In the quiet of space where no sound could travel, a different kind of storm was coming, and this time it would not be fear that moved the hearts of humans. It would be something far older, something stronger, something called pride. A history of resistance. The night on Earth felt longer than usual. The stars looked brighter but colder, as if space itself was holding its breath. The news of the alien demand had spread across every nation. Some leaders tried to calm the public while others whispered behind closed doors, unsure of what would happen next. But among all the noise, one voice remained steady and firm. The voice of Commander Ray was not new to fear. He had seen it many times during his years in service. He had walked through burning buildings, carried wounded soldiers from crashed ships, stood between fighting colonies. When talks failed, he knew how fast fear could spread and how quickly it could break even the strongest minds. But he also knew that fear was not the end. It was only a test. In the main strategy hall, Ray stood beside a large display screen showing the map of the captured ship's last known location. The area was wide and scattered with asteroid belts and hidden corners. The alien ship had taken a smart position, one that would not be easy to approach without risk. Still, Ray's eyes showed no hesitation. He pointed to the map and said, "This is where we begin." Behind him stood a team made up of specialists from all over the Earth Alliance. Mira, the mission leader who had led deep recovery teams across lost zones. David, the engineer who now handled signal tracking and silent hacking tools. Lana, the tech scout who could map an entire ship's layout using only pulse feedback. And two silent pilots who flew like ghosts through the black sky. Each of them had been chosen not just for skill but for loyalty to the mission. As they began to plan the rescue, Earth's top council remained locked in talks. Some council members believed it was better to give up the tech and avoid a war. Their voices filled the chamber with fear wrapped in polite words. They said the crew's lives were worth the price. They said survival was more important than pride. But others disagreed. Ray had once written a report about past threats and how humans always responded not with surrender, but with something else, something deeper, something that came from pain and history and loss. The report had a name he still remembered. Even now, a line passed down through many generations. We bend, but we do not break. As the council argued, Ray walked outside into the cold evening wind. The stars above him looked the same as they had during the war 20 years ago, a war that nearly broke the Earth into pieces. Yet here they were again, not broken, not gone, still standing, still fighting. Back in the control room, Mira looked at the live feeds coming in from secret satellites. Small camera drones had started to pick up weak signals from the alien ship hidden in the asteroid cloud. The signals were faint but enough to show patterns of movement. Mira's eyes followed the path with focus, and she marked each shift on her tablet. "We will find a way in," she said softly, "not just for the crew, but for every future crew out there." David was working in silence, decoding the alien system. He had never seen a language like this before, symbols that changed shape, data that moved like liquid. But he smiled as he worked, because he had always believed that no system was perfect. And every wall had a crack if you looked close enough. His fingers tapped quickly as he whispered, "We will not let them win, not this time." Across the world, people began to choose sides. Some feared the aliens. Some wanted peace at any cost, but a larger voice began to rise. Among the people, voices of workers and builders and farmers and students. They held signs that said "We are not afraid." They painted messages on walls that said "Bring them home." They lit candles near space centers and wrote letters to the council demanding action. Movement spread quickly, even to the outer colonies small. Stations with few people, even their men and women stood together watching the stars, waiting for news, hoping that someone would speak for them and stand for them and remind the universe that humans were not tools to be traded or bought. Ray returned to the council chamber and handed the president a folder. Inside was a single report showing the rescue mission's first stage and its chance of success. It was not perfect, it carried risk, but it was strong. And it was clear, and more than anything, it was a sign of action. The president looked at the report for a long moment, then turned to the council and said, "We will not pay them, but we will not leave our people behind. We will take them back and let the stars remember who we are." Approval was given in silence, no cheers, no claps, just a nod and a deep breath, the kind that came before every storm, the kind that carried both hope and fear. The covert team was given final orders. The ship was prepared. It looked like a mining craft, simple and quiet, but inside it carried stealth shields, gravity dampeners, and a special virus built by David that could shut down the alien system from inside. As the ship launched quietly into orbit, no one on Earth slept. News screens showed nothing, cameras pointed at empty skies, but the people kept watching anyway, waiting for something to change up. In the dark sky, the rescue ship moved faster than light, hidden from view, heading toward the asteroid cloud, where the captured crew still waited, holding on to hope or maybe just memory inside. The alien ship, the prisoners sat close to each other, cold and silent. They had heard the alien voice too. They had seen the message. They knew Earth was being tested. Some feared they would be forgotten. Some believed help was coming. One man whispered a line passed from his father, "We are humans, and we don't bow." And somewhere far above them, a rescue ship answered that whisper with silent speed and quiet fire, ready to show the aliens that this was not a planet that gave in. This was not a people that paid ransoms. This was humanity, and it was coming. The response: the stars remained silent as the small rescue ship moved through the cold path of space. The surface of the vessel was coated with dark metal that reflected nothing. Its engines made no sound, and its light stayed off. The only thing alive inside was purpose. Each person on board moved with steady hands and calm eyes, trained for danger and built for silence. They were not here to talk. They were here to take back what was stolen inside. The alien ship, the captured crew, had lost count of time. There were no clocks, no natural light, no sound of the world beyond the walls, just the low hum of the machines that kept them alive and the slow echo of footsteps from creatures that never showed emotion. The prisoners sat in lines, their backs against steel, their faces pale, but their eyes still holding something that would not die on Earth. The unified command sent out a new message to the alien invaders. This time the words were short and without emotion. "We do not respond to ransom. We do not give up our future. We demand the return of our crew without delay or harm. This message is final." The transmission reached the alien ship, but no reply came for several hours. Then, without warning, a second video arrived on Earth. Screens across the planet lit up with the feed. A captured human was dragged into view, weak and wounded. The alien voice spoke again. "This is your last chance. Give us your energy codes, or we begin the process of removal. This is not a threat. This is a fact." Gasps rose in every city, every colony, every ship in orbit. Fear moved like a wave through the people. Some cried, some shouted, some prayed. But in the heart of the command center, Commander Ray stood still, his face unreadable, his mind already past the message. He turned to the president and said, "The clock has started." In the shadow of the asteroid field, the rescue team had already reached the edge of the alien perimeter. Mira gave a silent signal, and the ship dropped its speed. The engines cooled, and the stealth field tightened. David began scanning for hidden defenses and silent alarms. He tapped the screen and pointed to a narrow point of entry. It was not a main gate, not a cargo bay, but a vent tunnel used for heat control. Small and risky, but possible. Myra nodded and led the first wave out of the ship. Suits, sealed tools, ready voices. Off they moved like shadows to the black rock around them. The alien ship looked like a dark insect, its surface smooth and pulsing with energy panels. Lights, veins of power crawling under the skin like nervous systems made of metal. The team reached the vent and began to cut slowly and silently. The heat from the system made their suits sweat, but no one stopped. No one spoke. Finally, the metal gave way, and they slipped inside, crawling through narrow tunnels that twisted like roots across a machine world. Back on Earth, public fear turned into public rage. People gathered outside council buildings, not to protest, but to support the mission. They held signs that read, "Do not give in." They chanted words that echoed through history. They reminded each other of every time humanity stood against fear. In small towns and floating colonies, people lit fires and stared at the stars. They knew their rescue team was out there facing something they could not see or fight, but they believed. Because belief was the oldest tool humans had inside the alien ship, the team reached a chamber with cold blue lights and glass walls. Behind one of the walls, they saw the crew weak and sitting close, their heads lifted as they noticed movement. Myra raised her hand to signal calm. She placed a small device on the glass, and it began to cut through silently. Suddenly, the alarm went off. Red lights flashed through the ship. The aliens had detected a change in system pressure, or movement, or heat. Something had triggered the alert. David pulled out a small black box and pressed it. A virus made from human code began to spread through the ship's network, fast and invisible. The lights flickered, then stopped. The alarms died. The doors unlocked. But only for a moment. The virus had worked, but not for long. Mira opened the chamber, and the team helped the crew out. Some could walk, some had to be carried. They moved fast through the same path they came in. The alien command center lights turned back on, systems rebooted, and the alien guards began to move with sharp purpose and cold speed. They did not shout, they did not panic, just acted. The rescue team had almost reached the vent when a group of alien guards blocked their path. Mira fired the first shot, a silent pulse that dropped one of them. Then chaos began. The team fought, not to kill, but to escape. Every move was calculated, every step was timed. David stayed behind to trigger the final data bomb, which would erase all files the aliens had copied from the captured ship. With the virus spreading again, systems began to fail. Lights turned into sparks. Walls began to hum strangely. The alien ship was starting to break from within. Outside the asteroid cloud, the rescue ship picked up signals of movement and opened its bay. Mira and the team ran toward it, carrying the last of the crew behind them. The moment the last person was inside, the door shut and the ship pulled away at full speed from a safe distance. They all watched as the alien vessel began to twist, lights bursting from inside, pieces breaking off, silence turning into flashes, and then only dust remained floating between the rocks. Like broken pride, the president received the signal the crew was safe. The mission was complete. The alien ship was falling apart, and there was no trace of any human tech left behind. Earth set no celebration, no reply, no warning, just one short message sent across all systems to all frequencies: "We told you we do not pay the breakout." The space around the alien ship grew quiet as the dust of broken metal floated in slow circles. The rescue ship moved fast, pulling away from the asteroid belt, keeping low power to avoid detection. Behind them, the shadow of what once was an enemy vessel drifted in silence, its systems failing, its memory wiped, its purpose shattered. The team inside the rescue ship sat in silence, some breathing hard, some helping the wounded, some looking at the stars without words. Mira stood near the cockpit, her eyes on the black ahead, her thoughts not on the mission, but on the future. She knew this was not the end. Not truly. Aliens who sent ransom demands would not stop after one loss. They would return someday, they would try again. But they would now remember the answer Earth gave, and that answer had not changed. David sat near the back of the ship, fixing a broken sensor in his lap. His hands moved fast, his mind still replaying the moment he activated the virus he had watched. Alien files vanish, systems crash, walls blink and fall. He had not done it with anger, but with duty. He had studied their codes, cracked their shield, and left behind nothing but failure. Rescued crew rested in rows, some awake, some unconscious there. Faces marked with cold and hunger and fear, but there was one thing still strong in them, the will to survive, and the belief that someone would come. They had told each other stories while trapped, stories of Earth, of cities, of rivers, of machines, of sunlight and wind and old songs. They had reminded each other what it meant to be human, and now those memories were stronger than any wound. As the ship crossed back into Allied space, a signal reached them from Earth. It was a secure line opened. Only for Mira, her voice remained steady as she answered and gave the report: mission complete. All crew recovered, no tech left behind, enemy ship disabled, no casualties on our side. All agents returning. The reply came from the President's office. A quiet thank you followed by a single line. Your silence spoke louder than any message in the unified command center. The video of the rescue was not made public. Only the outcome was shared. The crew was alive. The alien demand had failed. The world had not bowed instead of panic. There was pride instead of surrender. There was strength in cities across Earth. People stood together, lit candles, held hands, and stared up at the sky, not with fear, but with honor. The news was clear and firm. Earth does not pay ransoms. Earth brings its people back. Earth stands united in the colony near Mars, where one of the rescued crew had family. A boy ran through the street, shouting, "My father is coming home. My father is safe." His voice carried across the buildings, and others joined him. Children ran with him. Adults watched with eyes full of light. One family's joy had become a symbol for everyone. President gave a short speech without stage, without music, without flags, only words. She said, "We faced a question that tested who we are, and we answered not with weakness, but with action. We protected our own without trade. Without fear, we reminded the stars that humans are not for sale." Ray stood near the back of the room, listening without speaking, his hands behind his back, his eyes forward. He had said little during the past few days, but his silence had weight. When he finally spoke later to the press, he only said one line: "We are not the same species that first looked at the stars. We are something more now, and we remember what it took to get here." On the return ship, Mira looked at her team, each of them quiet, tired and changed. They had not done this for medals or thanks. They had done it because it was right, because every crew matters, because fear cannot decide the future. They knew the risk when they stepped onto the ship, and they took it anyway. Lana sat next to one of the rescued women, sharing water and simple words. They spoke about Earth, the smell of rain, the taste of bread, the sound of birds. They spoke like sisters who had met long ago, though they had never seen each other before, because in that ship, in that mission, they had found a connection that did not need history, only trust. Far from Earth, in a dark sector of space, another alien vessel picked up the fragments of the broken ship. Silent machines pulled in the wreck, studied the scars, ran tests, looked at the shattered core. They played back the final moments over and over, saw the virus, saw the message, saw the exit. Leader of that species stood before a black screen and whispered a thought: "They do not pay, they do not kneel, and they do not forget." And so the story began to travel, not just through human networks, but across alien signals, across shadow markets and broken satellites, across stars and moons and silent traders. It was a story simple and sharp. Earth does not pay ransoms. Earth takes its people back. Earth burns the chains and walks free in classrooms. Students learned then as history, not a battle, not a war, but a choice, a clear and final line, drawn in the sky on space stations. Workers printed the words on walls: "We do not pay." On mining ships, men told the story around fire circles, passing it like old songs, not just to remember, but to believe. And inside each new explorer who left Earth for unknown stars, there lived a voice, quiet but firm. A voice that said, "If they take you, we will come, and if they threaten us, we will not kneel in." So the ship came home through clouds and starlight and open arms. The doors opened, and people ran forward, families united, tears fell, laughter rose, and no one asked what was given in return, because the answer was always the same: nothing was given, nothing was traded, and nothing was paid. Only one thing was carried home: the pride of being human. The message that echoed the day the ship landed was, remembered by everyone across Earth. Screens showed the slow descent through clouds, the glow of fire around the hull, the shape of hope coming back to its people. As the doors opened, the families rushed forward, not with fear, but with joy. Children called out names, parents reached for hands, lovers ran through the lines, breaking rules, just to hold the ones they lost and found again. News spread faster than light. Humans had returned from the grip of an alien threat, and no ransom was ever paid. The mission had succeeded, not because of power or weapons, but because of one belief: no human should be left behind, and no enemy should be rewarded for fear. In every school, children were shown the image of the rescue ship landing. Some stared in wonder, some clapped without knowing why, but all of them felt something rise inside, a sense that they belonged to something greater than just themselves, something called humanity, something worth standing for. President met the rescue team in private. No cameras, no loud speeches, only truth spoken in few words. She thanked them for what they had done and told them they had reminded the world who we are and what we protect. Mira nodded once and said, "We just brought them home." Her voice steady, without pride, but filled with quiet fire. Commander Ray sat in a meeting room days later, alone with a few senior officers. They discussed what might come next: new threats, new signals, new plans. He listened and wrote and marked the names of those who had been taken and saved. He kept their names on a sheet in his pocket, not for memory, but for promise that if it ever happened again, the answer would be the same across space. The message traveled not as words, but as echoes through trade networks and pirate signals, through alien tongues and hidden markets. The message was not loud, but it spread. It moved like a quiet wind that could not be caught. Earth does not pay ransoms. Earth protects its own. Earth will come for you if you try. On a distant moon, a group of aliens debated what had happened. Some thought humans were fools for risking so much to save so few. Others believed they had underestimated something they did not understand. Some said humans were emotional and unstable, but others said they were dangerous because they did not forget and they did not fear. One alien trader who had watched the story unfold through hidden channels spoke to his partner and said, "They are not like others. They do not break the way we thought. They do not buy peace. They earn it with blood and time and unity. They are not easy." Prey. Back on Earth, the rescued crew slowly returned to normal life. Though nothing would ever feel fully normal again, they were invited to gatherings and honored by cities, but most of them chose quiet. Some returned to their families. Some went back to work. Some simply sat by rivers and watched water flow without walls, without fear. One of them, named Ethan, began writing a journal, not for fame, but for peace. He wrote about the silence in the alien cell, about the moment he heard the rescue team arrive, about the sound of human footsteps echoing in a place not meant for them. He ended his journal with one line: "I was taken, but I was never forgotten." David, the engineer, returned to his lab but found himself building different things, not weapons or codes, but tools to help future crews survive longer, to hide better, to send stronger signals. He taught new students how to break into systems without being seen, how to protect without being loud. He became a quiet hero, known by few, but trusted by many. Myra received new mission offers from all over the Earth Alliance, but she refused most of them. Instead, she chose to train a new team, not just in combat or planning, but in belief. She taught them that every mission begins with a question: what do we stand for? And ends with an answer: we stand for each other. Lana started working with explorers who were mapping new systems. She showed them how to trace hidden paths, how to listen to signals not meant to be heard. She painted stars on the walls of her room, each one marked with a memory, each one a story of survival. Ray remained near command, still watching the stars, still writing reports, still silent in most rooms. But when young officers asked him why Earth never paid the ransom, he would tell them the truth, not as a lesson, but as a warning. If we pay once, we pay forever. If we kneel once, we never stand again. Across planets and colonies, humans started using the new phrase, not created by leaders, not written in law, but spoken by workers and pilots and teachers. We do not pay. It became part of culture, part of spirit, part of who they were and who they wanted to stay in the future when new Threats came and strange voices echoed through space. Earth remembered this story. It stood its ground not with anger, but with memory, not with fear, but with unity. And every time someone asked what humans did when faced with ransom, the answer was always the same. They said no, they acted fast, and they never left their own behind. So the story became more than history. It became a signal to the stars, a quiet fire that never went out. We do not pay ransoms. We protect our people. We are human. And we do not break the end.